Say that. Hi, everybody. Welcome. How are you today? Oh, man, do we have a exciting and fun show for you. It is going to be so much fun. Get ready. Brace yourselves. Get yourself a big glass of iced tea. Turn your sound down if you're... No, turn your sound up. We're drinking iced tea and we're talking about... This is a family special... This is the Goin Batty family special episode. And we are so glad that you guys are joining us. We know there's a lot of people probably outside enjoying the weather, but we're going live right now because we're on the Homestead Network and you're with us. So we're glad you're here. We have a great show tonight. I'm so excited about what we're going to talk about. But we just want to say welcome, first of all. We want to show you a bunch of stuff. We have just stuff spread everywhere that we're going to share with you. But this is a special parenting/family episode that Heather and I are going to talk about what it's like to be parents of 4 kids and to be in homesteading and to be in transition and what it really means to be a family on a mission. It's going to be a great show, so we've got a lot to talk about.
Yep.
Are you excited?
Yep.
I'm excited. So here we go. It's one of those things where we kind of have to go back to give you our story a little bit, and our story is that we both came from very different places.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Right. And so we came from very different places, and we're just going to kind of, hey, Hoffman Family Farm.
Hi, guys.
Homestead, how are you? We came from very different ends of the track, and so we're going to share a little bit of that with you tonight, and kind of why we parent, what kind of parenting we came from, and what kind of parenting we do, and what do we do as a family. We're just going to get all dirty in it. So where do you think we should start, babe?
Well, why don't we start with just our stories of how we grew up. I think it's probably because I think that your parenting style is influenced by your parents and who your parents were and
LED 8541 is in the house.
Yes, and how you were parented. It reflects in how you parent your kids. I grew up in a 2-parent family.
Hi, Tara.
My dad was a mechanical engineer without the degree. He worked his way up to that position. He started out as a machinist and worked his way up to that position. When we were very young, my parents made the decision together that my dad would bring the money into the house, go out and have the job, and my mom would stay home with us. Now, that doesn't mean my mom didn't do anything. I mean, she took care of us, she gardened, did a lot of things. So I give props to my mom because she could have had a career outside of the home, but her heart was always here with us, and to make sure that one of the things I always loved is that when my dad came home from work, he had a hot meal waiting for him. And, my mom always made sure that he always had a glass of tea. There was always that for him. And because she appreciated, my dad had to work some long hours. There was 3 of us kids. We were not wealthy by any stretch of the imagination. If we didn't have the garden when I was a kid, there would have been times that it would have been really hard to feed us. But my dad would work, he had a full-time job, and sometimes he would work 80 hours a week to make sure that we had what we needed. And the one thing that I loved about my parents is that we had what we needed. If there was something that we wanted, we had to earn that ourselves.
Pause for just a minute.
Yeah.
Let's say hi to a few people.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Tara. Hi, Cindy. Dolphin Man, how are you, my friend? DeJesus Family Farms.
Angela's here.
Angela's here.
Woo-hoo!
How are you? We're so glad to see you. we are having a family special where we're talking about family.
Yeah.
And we're starting out with some of our background. And if you jump in and you miss anything, go back and watch the video at the beginning. So anyway, yeah.
So that was how I grew up. I grew up in a home where we went to church. My dad became a believer when I was about a year old. I have two brothers, and we have a good relationship with each other. And it's funny because, even when we fought, because me and my older brother fought more than maybe me and my younger brother did. My younger brother was more of the peacemaker and stuff, and my older brother and I would butt heads. But even in that, this is the same guy that when we moved home from Maryland, he flew out on his own dime and helped us pack everything up and move back. Like, I know my older brother would do anything for me. And as far as, those rough patches that we had as teenagers and stuff, that's water under the bridge. Like, I know he loves me. I know he would do anything for me. And honestly, those rough patches were nothing compared to like what some of my friends went through. We would, every once in a while would have an argument where I had friends that had knockdown, drag out fights with their siblings. So, I have to look at it in perspective. So that is the home that I came from. And it was a very stable home. It was a very loving home. It was a very encouraging home. It also was like, there was discipline in that home too. I mean, my parents made sure that you understood that for every choice that you make, there is a consequence, whether good or bad, So with that, even if you say I'm sorry, sometimes the consequence doesn't go away. So, and I was always grateful for that. So yes, did you want to say something?
Yeah, let's say hi to a few people.
Okay,
Eric
sorry.
Lyon, Homesteading the Pioneer Way, Barbara Bell, Simply Preserving. How y'all doing tonight? We're glad you joined us. Thanks for being with us.
Homesteading the Pioneer Way. I wanted to tell you, I have been binge watching, is it John Townsend and Sons. I think you were the ones that recommended that channel to me, and oh my gosh, it's awesome. I love it.
Awesome.
So anyway, so that's kind of my family story.
Yep.
And how I grew up. So
mine was a little different. I was born in Virginia, near Langley Air Force Base, Newport News, really, to be exact. And when I was 2, my parents got a divorce. And in the 1970s, it was 1972, 1973, Mom moved us from Newport News up back to Dayton, Ohio. And she did that in the middle of a blizzard, a very, very bad blizzard. And she had about half of the money she needed to get us into a hotel room. And there was one hotel room that was half built. And so we stayed in that one during this blizzard until we could get on with finishing the rest of the trek home. When we moved home, we moved into my grandparents' house and then began the journey of being raised by a single mom. She did a phenomenal job, but it was a very different climate than Heather's. We had a much different experience growing up, and I was left. My family was left to ourselves, which meant we got in some trouble. But Mom was a banker by trade, and she's been a banker for years, and she worked for a lot of different companies. But ultimately, she had 3 kids to raise, and she did what she had to do to raise them. We grew up in kind of I wouldn't say it was the best neighborhood. It was kind of the wrong side of the tracks, and got involved in some things that maybe we shouldn't have gotten involved in. And throughout my teenage years, one thing was always consistent. We had a roof over our head, we had clothes on our back, and we had food in our bellies. And those are some things that were just constant. And I didn't really grow up Christian. I know that I was around Christian people, but I had no idea what it meant to have a relationship with God. I didn't know what it meant not to say a cuss word. It was okay I heard a lot of people in my life just share a variety of things that probably weren't, I don't know how to say it, weren't appropriate for a kid my age. These are this is a different background. I was alone a lot, left to my own devices, and sometimes by choice. But I think as I grew up, I saw an opportunity to be something. I don't know how to explain it. It was just a difficult thing. So I was raised in a single parent home. We spent a lot of time in the country. My mom would take me down to where my family lived, and they had huge farms, and they had a lot of things to do. They raised cattle, they raised pigs at the time. Primarily, most of them are corn and soybean farmers now, but there was a lot of trouble to get into. I learned how to do things for my siblings that you should never learn how to do. I'll tell you this, after all is said and done, as much fighting as we did in our childhood, and that's fist fighting, that's like bad words and anger and frustration and a lot of that just being poured out on each other. I think the world of my brother now, and I think the world of my sister, and they're living very different lives in very different places, and I won't go into all that, but the main experience that I had didn't have a father figure in it to lead the way. Dad bailed when I was 2, and we really didn't see him a whole lot. I mean, we had some family visits from time to time, and there was just a overall understanding that if you were going to go to Dad's house, you were going to watch him drink, and you were going to get in, you're going to, either he was going to be passed out and you were going to get into trouble, or he was going to take you and you were going to get in trouble together. And so, I smoked one of my first cigarettes with my father, and just had those rare windows where he would show up. I was 16, and I was the lead. Actually, I think I was 17, and I was the lead in the musical.
Carousel.
No, that was when I was 8. That was my senior year, right? Carousel. And Dad showed up. He came to that show, and I didn't see him a whole lot. He died in 1998 of severe, what's it called? He had cancer, a lot of cancer, but that's not really what he ended up succumbing to. But he suffered a lot from the life that he led, which is a lot of drug abuse, a lot of alcohol abuse, and so in my life, what I really had to do is make a decision to go a totally different direction and break some of those family traditions that I could have easily passed on to my children. If I had not married the quality bride that's sitting beside me, I really could have gone down and tried to go down a path that wasn't so great. And so there was a point in my life when I met Heather, where I said, if we're really gonna do this, I'm committing all the way. I am in. I'm gonna do whatever it needs to take. And one of the things that impacted me the most was when I asked Heather to go out on a date. We had met in a couple of different ways. We'd gone on a trip with our young adult group. We had seen each other at the young adult group weekly, and we'd become friends watching Band of Brothers of all things. And she made these man-catching cookies.
Cookies.
Which you can see on the Goin Batty kitchen.
Yes. Got him to notice me out of all the other girls.
And it was a unique experience because we spent an entire 4th of July evening together with a group of friends. We didn't go on a date per se. We got to know each other through that moment, through that time, and I just, as I got to know her, I'm like, I think I need to get to know her more. And
well, just so that you know, like, the rule in my house growing up was my dad had to meet the guy that I was going to date, and it wasn't you're my daughter, you're my property, you can't do anything without my permission. The reason my dad did that was because he says a guy knows what a guy thinks. Mm-hmm. And he goes, and this person needs to be man enough to look me in the eye and say, I would like to take your daughter out. And, and I wasn't allowed to date till I was 16. And I didn't even date till then because my dad was not a small dude.
No,
and
6 foot.
I didn't think he was intimidating. But
folks, he was the nicest, gentlest bear you'd ever know until you jacked with his family. Once you started messing around with his daughter,
then he was a grizzly.
He was a grizzly bear. But he never treated me like that, and we'll tell you that story.
And so when Kevin asked me out, I called my dad and I said, listen, there's this guy that's interested in me. And I want to know, can I just go out once with him to see if there's anything there? Because I don't want him to go through the process of, meeting you guys and everything. And I'd be like, yeah, he's a freak show. So my dad was like, well, you don't live in my house anymore. So he goes, I'm really glad that you still want to abide by that standard. And I said, I do. I said, because I know that I'm looking at this through puppy love right now. And I want somebody who can be objective and look at it through the eyes of a man. So my dad was like, yeah, go ahead. He goes, but after that, I would like to meet him. So, and he did.
Well, our first date is one for the record books, folks. I took her out. I went all out and took her out wanting to show her the town. So we were going to go to dinner. I took her to J. Alexander's. Now, if you know where that place is, it's cha-ching, right? Spending the dough to make a good first impression. And we were going to go to a great place to eat. We were going to go to see a movie. We never got to the movie. We stayed at that restaurant. I had rattlesnake pasta, and you didn't order a salad.
I did not. My dad told me, whatever you do, don't order a salad.
Don't order the salad,
no
folks.
Guy wants to watch a girl munch down on rabbit food.
No, and you got...
I ordered a steak.
There it
is. The
is.
biggest steak I could find.
Yes.
So.
And I was in love with that entire thing. I mean, it was just incredible. And so sorry, I'm having a moment. Yeah. I'm all right. We ate. It was awesome, and we said, okay, let's not go to the movie. Let's go over to Lincoln Park, which is a place near where we live.
They had a lot of Christmas lights up.
Oh, a ton of Christmas lights.
So.
But first, let's go to Starbucks and get some coffee. So we went over to Starbucks, and on the drive over to the park, and it's a lit park, it's romantic, it's fun, we could talk some more. On the way over, I hit this curve, and I spilled my coffee into her leg. It poured hot coffee down the side of her leg. All the way down.
I was wearing a pair of boots.
It got into your purse.
Got in my purse. It burnt me.
I
had a red mark on my leg for probably about 4 days afterwards. So that's hot coffee.
She said nothing.
Nothing.
She didn't say a word.
I didn't want to embarrass him because then I thought he would never come back. Because I really liked him at this point. I thought, yeah, I can tolerate this guy. He's kind of nice.
That's funny. And so she doesn't say a word. She doesn't make a sound, and I just keep talking. And we have a walk, and I'll tell you, I think we had a good time that night because the next time we were to get together, I went to dinner with Heather's parents. I sat across the table from Stan and Marcia and looked them in the eye, and I said, I would like permission to date your daughter. Now, let's pause right there. I was a street kid. I never, ever was held to that standard. As a matter of fact, most times I was taught, avoid dad at all cost. Do not ever, at any point, really talk to the father. Because you're trying to date his daughter and he's going to want to kill you. And so, this was something that I thought, if this is something that's going to be really good, then I have to commit to it. And I put it in my mind that this is what I was going to commit to. And so I sat across the table from them. I looked him in the eye and said, I would like permission to date your daughter. Never asked. I heard of people asking permission to marry. He looks across the table at me with as straight a face and as serious as he can. He looked at me and said, you are not the kind of man I would choose to date my daughter.
Yeah, and I went,
the whole restaurant went,
well, and understand that
I was like, check, please.
Kevin had kind of shared his entire story, his life story with my dad. And, and he was, and the one thing that I loved about him is he was very honest with me from the very, very beginning about who he is, where he's been, and what he's done. And
Not
so he told all that to my dad. So.
Honesty, I was going to have it all out there. He said, but this was his response after he said that. He goes, I trust my daughter's judgment and she sees something in you. And over the next 6 months, you and I are going to get to know each other very well. And that's exactly what we did. Every time I turned around, I was at one of their family get-togethers and they were treating me like gold. They included me in their holidays. They included me in their family get-togethers. Even for no reason, we'd just go down and hang out with her family. And so it provided for me stability and an example of a father figure that maybe I'd only had glimpses of in my grandpa and in my uncle. And those are two other men that had a huge influence on me as I was growing. But I'll tell you what, that was the beginning of what would be an incredible 6 months. We got to know each other. We went on a lot of dates together. I think we kissed on January 1st and New Year's Eve or something like that. Something like that for the first time.
We dated for 6 months, and then we were engaged for 6 months. And then we got married.
And
then 2 months later, I got pregnant with our daughter.
Yes.
I had her. And Katie is a year and 2 weeks older than Max.
Mm-hmm.
Max is 13 months older than Jack. And Jack is 22 months older than Miles. So I had...
Four kids.
In 5 years.
In 5 years.
So, yeah.
And here's the other thing. She had morning sickness the entire pregnancies.
Until...
The entire time.
2 days before I would give birth. And
then
I would tell my doctor, I'm like, I'm going into labor. Well, I didn't know with Katie because they induced me with her.
That was a little different.
And that was kind of like, I was young. I never had children before. I didn't know any better. And I think the doctor kind of wanted me to have the baby on her schedule and not necessarily on the baby's schedule. So I was induced with her. But when it came to the boys, I was like, I'm not doing that again.
No.
And so with them, it was the morning sickness stopped 2 days before I went into labor. So I was like, especially with our last one, I told the doctor.
We forgot to tell.
What?
Okay. No, our first kiss. I got to back up. Our first kiss. Our first kiss was not New Year's Eve. It was in her apartment, and I went for it, saying goodnight. And God love her, she curled up on the couch and started crying when I kissed her for the first time. She was so worried. She didn't know.
I had never kissed anyone before. So in my mind, and girls, you can understand this. Like, everything runs through your head in that moment. Like, oh my gosh, what is he doing? Oh my gosh, he's getting closer. Holy crap, he's gonna kiss me. I hope I do this right. I hope he's not disappointed. And yeah, all of that crazy, all of it runs through your head. So
it was the sweetest. it is a memory I have that I will love and just enjoy for years, because it's so Heather and on in so many levels. She just has such a caring heart. But anyway, we had kids, and we moved out of an apartment and got a house in a kind of a east side of the city, and it was a good starter home for us.
Yeah.
And we started raising our kids, and our journey as parents has been such a journey of learning. I mean, we do not have
We don't have this parenting thing down yet.
no.
Because our kids are not grown yet.
Well,
And-
we thought we had it down when they were
Oh.
6, 5, 4, and 3, because we started going through the routine, and then they turn older, and then they get into 11, 10, 9, and 6.
And every child is different. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I have one who's very compliant.
Mm-hmm.
You ask them to do something, and there's not a lot of arguing, nothing like that. And then I have one that is very analytical, and has to think everything through, has to verbalize it.
Mm-hmm.
I have one that is extreme. Well, I have two that are extremely strong-willed, and we have learned that in that case, if you give an inch, they'll take a mile, and then you'll spend a month and a half trying to gain that ground back. Where with my compliant child, if I give a little bit, they don't take anymore. They just okay.
That's right.
So and learning that every child is different, and you have to parent them in different ways, because what may work for one doesn't work for the other one.
That's right.
So yeah.
That's right. Well, and Heather, I have 4 kids. Heather has 5, right? I mean, she's...
Yes, cat lover. I'm very glad the dating thing is over with.
Hey, we still
We go out on
have
dates,
fun.
but I don't... Here's the thing. Like, he's seen me at my worst. He came over when we were dating, and I had got a horrible case of the flu. I mean, one of the ones that knocks you out for a week and a half. And I wouldn't let him come over for a while. And then he finally just showed up. Mm-hmm. And this was like 4 days of not washed hair, haven't brushed my teeth, been throwing up.
Yep.
I was a hot mess, and it was gross. And he decided to stick around.
I did. I brought her over. Yeah,
Campbell's soup.
Yep.
He brought me crackers. He brought me a bowl to throw up in. He bought me Vicks Vapor Rub and a big box of tissues. So nothing says love like...
Did you say the bowl to throw up in?
Yes, a bowl to throw up in. So.
But yeah, I mean, it's funny, the parenting thing is a work in progress on us. I really, we've made mistakes, and we've made things that, done things that we didn't know we were going to do, we didn't mean to do. But I think the point that we're learning is that we never give up. And there's always that desire to do more than just survive. The Goin Batty clan really wants to thrive. Mm-hmm. We want to grow in our relationship with God, our relationship with each other. We want to grow intellectually. We want to grow spiritually. We want to grow in all areas of our lives so that we can go bigger, and not bigger in the fact that we want to keep up with the Joneses, but bigger that we understand who our God is and what this world is, and that we're always learning. Mm-hmm. That's a big deal. And so for us, we were watching Brad and Krista's channel, Big Family Homestead, the other night on their live feed, and they put a challenge out and are going to bring to the table their family mission statement. And we have had a family mission statement, and we have not always paid attention to it, and that episode of their live stream spurred us to revisit our family mission statement,
because we had one before, but what we have found is that it needed to be revised, it needed to be updated, because when we started homeschooling, not this school year but the last school year, we had a family mission statement, and we had a one of my husband's sweet spots is casting vision, That's what he calls it. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but a vision and a purpose.
We might have to talk about that later then. No,
a vision and a purpose for why we homeschool. And what we did with that is we sat down and said, okay, what is each child's strength? Where do they shine? And not just us saying it, but my mom was there, and every child in the family got to say where, like with their brother or their sister, where they saw that they were their best. And and then we got to let them say, what is something new that you want to experience? And we're going to try it. If we can't try it, then that's okay, but we're going to try to do something new. It's funny because my son Jack wanted something new to do, and so he decided he wanted to learn how to do punch tin. When you get like those pie safes and they have that tin in the front and it's got like the wheat pattern on it. He wants to learn how to do that. Okay, so we got him a kit, right. And he's going to give it a shot. So
and I mean, each kid is different. Each kid has their own talents and abilities, and it's funny. Max is very good at building things, and he's going to get even better as he goes. And he also is a phenomenal artist.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he does an incredible job drawing.
I gotta show him what okay.
Oh,
I'll
yeah,
be right back.
okay.
I'll be right back.
All right, she's gonna be right back. I'm gonna keep talking. And there's just each kid is kind of finding their niche, finding where they are, and I'm proud because I get to be the dad that guides them and leads them in that direction and keeps them out of the normal path of what the world wants us to do. And I love some of the comments I'm seeing on the live feed.
Okay, so I get to have a proud mama moment.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Right, show this off. So Max.
This is my son Max, and he's drawn.
He's 12.
Drawn. This is Robin from Batman and Robin.
Yep.
And see, he's got another one here.
Got Batman.
There's Batman.
Yeah.
So he's been learning how to draw.
He's doing a great job too.
Katie she's really great at sewing. She's gotten behind on her apron making because she's actually had a back order that she had to complete. So somebody ordered one special and she had to make it for him. So
absolutely.
So that got sent out this week, and so she's really good at cooking. This one cracks me up. Okay, so it has been incredibly rainy today, and the boys have been stuck in the house. So I'm like, all right, what are we gonna do? So I turned on Hulu, and lo and behold, all of the classic episodes of Star Trek are on there.
And not all of them are good. I mean, some of them are a little racy. You gotta skip over that.
Yeah, but we've been watching them, and I've been monitoring them. So this is what my youngest son made. He made a phaser. And then we have this, which is the Enterprise.
There was another Enterprise,
yeah, there's another one, but I think
that looks more like a Klingon.
Well, they made that because the other one that they made, they took apart to build something else with.
Absolutely.
So, but they're each finding their own thing, that thing that they really thrive at and they love to do, and we want to encourage that. We want them to, when they do something, to do it to God's glory and to the best of their ability.
Absolutely. A part of this family special that we're having is that...
Oh, wait, here's the other one. Sorry, they didn't take it apart. There it is.
Very nice.
So there's the Enterprise.
A 5-year mission to go.
That was actually Miles did that one. That was our youngest one did that.
Very
and
good.
The phaser. That was his. So.
And I mean, I guess if Heather and I were doling out advice, which I'm not so sure we are, we're not counselors. We're not professionals. We're not doctors. We're not counselors. What we are parents that are going through learning how to raise our kids. And one of the biggest helps is having the foundation of Christ in our life, but also to put that on paper as what is the mission of our family, what is the purpose why we exist, and we go back to that. We had a huge discussion as a family the other morning about homesteading, and was homesteading something we still wanted to do. We were all kind of just not excited. We weren't doing what we were supposed to do, and yet our kids rose to that occasion, and we had a great conversation about that.
Yeah, and the thing is that our analytical child was the one that was going, I don't know if I want to do this. And because
it cost something.
Because it cost something, and he had to go through all the steps in his mind. And it was interesting because I know I'm this horrible homesteader, but I had never watched the movie Food Inc. And I sat down the other night and watched it, and that child sat down and watched it with us. And he goes, I understand now why you want to do what we're doing. Because it broke his heart. He was like, Mom, why are they treating their chickens that way? We don't treat our chickens that way. And It's like, no, son, we don't treat our chickens that way. And so it was just, it was really kind of neat to see him kind of on his own come to that kind of realization, So,
the name of the movie that Heather just mentioned is called Food Inc. INC period.
Yeah.
It is.
I believe at one time it was on Netflix. I'm not sure if it still is.
It is on Netflix. De Jesus Family Farms just mentioned
Hey, chicken stamps.
And so we want you guys to know that going into that, there's a lot of I don't want to say it's vulgar. I want to say it's graphic. There are some moments where they don't treat animals very well.
And it's not for, I wouldn't say it was for under, I mean, our youngest one watched it and he was fine. He's 9. So anybody
but he got exercised.
He got extra. And it's funny to see the righteous anger come out in a child. When they look at something and go, that's not right.
Yeah. And they know.
That's not right. And, and so as we're trying to slowly but surely take ourselves out of buying food like that, it's a process. I don't know anyone who's just kind of stopped cold turkey,
right?
But we are making steps and doing what we can to kind of veer away from that.
Absolutely. And so one of the toughest things that I've wrestled with is effective discipline. We have, when our kids were younger, we would, if they did something wrong, we'd spank them. And we don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Just to
clarify. Yeah.
That was safe for defiance.
Yes.
When you told them to do something and they looked at you and they did exactly the opposite, and you can see that look in their eyes, or they would tell you, no, I'm not doing that. And rarely do we ever have to use that. And honestly, on our strong-willed child, didn't work.
No, it didn't.
With him, we had to learn. He values his freedom.
Yeah.
So if we kind of took that and said, okay, everyone else can go out and play.
Put your nose on the wall.
You have to stand with your nose on the wall.
Yeah.
With our daughter, a lot of times all we have to do is look at her and go, we're really, really disappointed in you. And you can just see it. She's just like, it's almost like you could say, please just beat me instead. I'd rather you do that than tell me that.
Well, it really, we've done it with all of our kids until a certain point, and now it's kind of over. They would put their noses on the wall until they had time to reflect on what they did. We know from our experience that time of their nose on the wall gives us time to calm down, gives them time to calm down, and it makes their world small. Because what oftentimes happens is we get caught in the moment, they get caught in the moment, and the world is too big, and they just need a minute to focus in. And so we would take that moment, and we would. These are my and Heather's responsibility. These kids are ours, and we're not raising kids that someday we hope will go adulting if that makes sense.
It's like there's a hashtag that's out like, hey,
Yeah.
look, I learned how to boil an egg. I learned how to wash my clothes. And they're like 25.
Yeah, and then they hashtag adulting behind it.
My kids...
Not adultery, but adulting.
Yeah. My kids, they have chores. And we feel like that helps them to be productive people, I'm trying to think what I'm trying to say. Learn how to have somebody that you're always going to have someone kind of over you, and to be able to take direction and take instruction and not argue. When my kids started kindergarten, like they would always help pick up their toys and stuff like that. But when they started kindergarten, they would learn how to do the dishes, and they would start with mommy, and then when they were big enough at about 7, 8, they would do it by themselves. And then the younger ones would start with mommy, and then they would do it with a sibling, and then they would do it by themselves. Katie kind of got the short end of the stick. She didn't have anybody really to kind of do dishes with her besides mom. Well,
and we're raising leaders.
Yeah.
We're raising people that can be productive citizens and aren't waiting for mom and dad to come and save them.
Yeah.
They at some point we're going to be living in their basement, so we need them to be productive citizens. I think it's
and I think that our kids know how to do their own laundry. They know how to do the dishes. They know how to cook food for themselves if they need to. They understand that we kind of had a aha moment where they understand that the garden is not just mine. The garden is everybody's.
That was a big time. That was a big deal.
And as we were pulling weeds, it made me think of, I was watching Homestead Mama, and she did a Bible study, and she was talking about the parable of the sower where he throws the seeds out. And I said, this seed kind of landed on hard ground. It's not going to do anything. Yeah. And when you have the weeds, they'll choke everything out, and there are life lessons and learning that happens in all of that.
Absolutely. I got to pause for a second and let you guys know we'll probably go a little long tonight. We have a long show planned for you guys. We want to have discussion around these things, and we've got a lot that we still haven't hit on yet. And so please hang out with us as long as you can, and then go to bed or do what you need to do and come back. We just want you guys to see kind of our perspective. Now, with discipline, you have to understand.
Angela from DeJesus Family Farm, she's saying that she posted a video of her and her granddaughter washing dishes and, preparing stuff, and she got hate mail because of it. There is nothing wrong, and if we get hate mail, I don't care, with teaching your kids how to do for themselves.
That's right.
I am not my child's servant. I will do for them because I love them and because I want to, but at some point, they have to learn to do for themselves. And I'm sitting here and thinking, my grandmother was telling my mom this story where she was talking about, and then she's 87, and she was looking at my mom. My mom was helping her do laundry. And she goes, I'm really glad I have a wash machine. And she goes, well, Mom, what do you mean? She goes, well, I remember as a girl, and she goes, when I was a little girl, I was probably about 4, 5, 6. She goes, we had to haul water from the creek that was a quarter of a mile away so that my mom could wash clothes. So, something has happened. And, in 2 generations, people don't know how to do anything anymore. Well,
here's the thing, folks. Bring on the hate mail, because I'll tell you this. I don't have to stand in front of any of you when I get to heaven and answer for how I raised my kids.
We have to stand before Jesus.
We have to stand in front of him. And I'll be honest with you, I'm more worried about that, because I understand the values, and Brad Tolby's here too.
I know, he's been here a little while. I said hi to him.
Jay Ton, there's a bunch of great people on the feed, and I want you to know, from our vantage point, that this is our this is how we are raising our kids. And if there are people out there that can glean something from the things that we've learned, great. Because here's what the truth is. We're gleaning from people all the time. When there are teenagers who are parents who have teenagers and they're going a step further, or they're a little further along in it, we're learning from them if we're like-minded. Now, there's some others that have teenagers right now that I'm not going to glean from. And that means that we're going to seem a little weird to the outside world. We're going to seem a little different. People are going to kind of tilt their head and kind of just look at us different. And you know what? That's okay. We're okay with being different. Maybe we can be in a community that understands that and supports it. I don't know, but
Nancy Briggs was talking about she got her first cookbook at 9.
That's
and
awesome.
then she gave her son his first cookbook at 9.
That's awesome.
I mean, I learned beside my mom and my grandmother. My grandmother's a Southern lady, man. She doesn't measure anything. Yeah. Everything's by handfuls of this and pinches of that, and so that's how I cook. So when we started making cooking videos, and Kevin's like, "Well, are you going to show him how it's done?" I'm like, "Oh, I don't. Well, it's about that much. It's about this much."
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And so I think it's important for us. And I was reading on the feed just now. It is. You're right. There are parents that have decided to become their child's friend. We are so much more than just a friend. And there are these incredible moments where I can look at Max when he does something incredible, and I can walk beside him in it and celebrate with him as if a friend would do. Only I get the benefit, the joy, and the privilege of being these 4 kids' dad, and that's humbling to me because we get to journey through life with them and show them life, especially me, who doesn't have the background of parenting. I didn't have that role model in my life. It's Jesus I look to. And so I know I don't want to overstate this, but our kids are ours.
I'm loving seeing these stories. Like Faith Abound at Melody Acres is saying that my dad had me on the roof pony shingling when I was 8.
That's awesome.
I can remember my dad doing some stuff and my brothers being up on the roof, and they weren't very big. So, it just, I think that's... I'm sorry.
Hoffman Family Farms says it. We do live in an age of entitlement, and that's really become evident to me today. And this idea that I get it because I exist, I deserve it because I've been born, is dumb. And it's not how we teach our kids.
If a man does not work, he will not eat. That's scriptural. That is in the Bible.
We have people that have told us we need to give our kids allowances because they do chores. No, they do chores because they're members of our family.
Yeah.
They do they do the chicken chores because they enjoy those eggs. Mm-hmm. Max helps me butcher our chickens. He's better at it than I am. I mean, I goof up on some areas where he's got it down. And so this is how a family unit works. And what we're doing is we're shouting out on YouTube going, there's a people who all have this same mindset. And Big Family Homestead has started to circle the wagons and go, hey, you're not alone. Let's build a little community and let's be together and share our stories. And that's what we're doing tonight. That's why we're kind of doing this marathon thing that we're doing tonight. So
Angela says that in her family that if you were a girl that refused to cook, Yenta would come in and shame you in public.
That's awesome. So that's kind of our thing. We have a couple of we typically have a garden update. We have a chicken update. Okay. We have favorite things. We have we have resources. Well, we're tilting all of that towards family tonight.
Yeah.
And we have a garden update for you. We want to show you something, but then we have a garden story for you. And I'm going to show you how that plays in just a second. But this is what my beautiful bride was going to show you. Before you say anything, guess what this is. On the live stream, just start guessing, what is this weird looking thing in my hand? And then I'm going to cut it open to give you kind of a hint. And then we'll tell you after we get a few. So I know there's a little bit of a lag. We've got radish as a guess. We've got carrot, radish, a rutabaga, a turnip. It looks like a parsnip, turnip, radish, Okay, Martha Anderson, you got it. That is a watermelon radish. Now check this out.
It's pretty awesome.
It's pretty cool.
All right, so we've been having stuff come in. We've had a lot of lettuce come in. We've had spinach come in, and radishes come in all at once. All at once. So we've had a ton of radishes come in, but this one was really cool because it's white on the outside and it's red on the inside. So I thought that was that one cool thing that we planted this year. That and tomatillos we planted.
And they taste great.
Yeah.
They taste phenomenal. So here's the story. I probably won't do justice because I wasn't there.
Okay.
We're in Maryland and we've planted the first garden. The first garden was pallets and dirt in between pallets.
Yes.
Around it was fencing.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I remember this story now. Okay, so my mom had come out to stay with us, and we had this. It's kind of like that fencing, that orange fencing that you see sometimes in construction sites.
Yeah.
And we had that around because we had a problem with things coming in and eating the stuff out of Katie's garden. So Katie was the one that actually got us started doing that. She's like, I think I want to plant a garden. So her and I did that.
Yep.
And so it's a little tiny thing. There's not a whole lot there. I come home from going grocery shopping because I didn't get to go grocery shopping really by myself because my kids were too little to leave home by themselves. They're just at the age now where I can leave them, go grocery shopping, and come back. So it was one of those rare moments with my mom being there that I got to go grocery shopping by myself. I come home and my mom is laughing hysterically. And I was like, Mom, what is going on? And she goes, well, I got a story to tell you. She says, the kids were outside playing, and Jack, our middle son, runs in the house, and he was like, Mom, Mima, there's a groundhog in Katie's garden, and it's eating all of her stuff. And he looks at Max, and he goes, Max, go get your bow. So we gave our kids all bows. Not all of them. Katie doesn't have one, but the boys. But Max started with it. And at the time, he was the only one that had one.
It was this bow.
And he was going out to defend his sister's garden.
That's right.
Well, he goes out there, and Jack's looking at him, and he's got the bow, and he's got it pulled back, and Jack's going, shoot him, Max, shoot him. And so Max lets that arrow fly, and it sticks in this groundhog's butt.
Yes.
And
he nailed it.
And
he
it
got
runs
it strong.
away. And then Jack looks at him and goes, oh,
you shouldn't have
you shouldn't have done that. And then he goes into the house, and he's like, Meemaw, I gotta tell you what Max did. And he tells the story with all of his, like, Jack is very energetic and he's a lot like me, hands go flying when he's talking and everything. And then he goes in, and Meemaw, he shot it in the butt. And like, kind of waiting for him to get into trouble. And Meemaw goes, well, good, he should have. He doesn't belong in Katie's garden. And she said Jack was kind of like, what? So
this is about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I think it was midsummer or something like that. And so it was hilarious because we've always talked about trying to hunt, and Max did it. Max went out there and shot himself a gopher that ran away.
Yep.
He didn't run away with the thing in his butt, right?
So Max was probably about 10 years old. Yeah, he did, but he found the arrow later in some bushes.
Oh, there it is.
Max was about 10, which made Jack about 8. Miles would have been 6. Katie would have been 11-ish.
Hoffman Family Homestead says, haha, great story. I cheated last night and used my 20 gauge on a groundhog. Well, yeah, that would do it.
That would do it.
That would take care of him for sure. But yeah, that much more difficult. Yes. So anyway, that was kind of our garden update and one of our favorites, the watermelon radish.
So that wasn't a recent garden update,
No.
but that's just a garden story.
It's one of
That's
our
with the
favorite
kids.
family
Yeah.
stories because there was several times and still are several times where we'll just go outside, group around the targets and start shooting stuff. I'll use my bow or we'll get the BB guns out and we just have fellowship together. We haven't done that. We need to do that
Yeah,
soon.
we need to go shoot things.
We'll see if we can't bring our friends on YouTube with us. But that's some of our favorite family moments. The other thing has been watching the kids in the chicken coop. We first came in to Ohio, and it was pouring down rain. It was a really spring day, and we were neck deep in mud. And my kids, we spent all day out in the rain, out in the mud, all 4 of them, setting up chicken wire so that we could get these chickens in a safe place. They stayed at it all day. We weren't using electric fence at that time. And we were using chicken wire, and so it's a little harder to set up, and it's a whole lot less mobile, I'll tell you that. And these guys did a phenomenal, they were incredible. They just did an incredible job. They stayed at it, getting everything putting up, and then we went inside and got the barn ready, and they just would not stop. And that's oftentimes my kids' approach. They may drag their feet at first getting out there, but once they're in a job, they will stay with it and they finish it up.
Okay, Faith and Bounds at Melody Acres said that I had a BB gun, really little. They caught me shooting it into the ground and asked me what I was doing. I said I was saving bullets as I picked them up off the ground and reloaded. That's awesome.
That's pretty funny. So, yeah. What else? Do you have any other chicken stories with our kids? Just their care and concern.
Yeah, no, they take care of them really well. I mean, we have to come behind them and make sure that, because they are kids, and sometimes they forget a thing here and there and stuff, but and always that switch from like spring to summer when the weather starts to get really hot. Like usually we only have to water them maybe once a day in the winter time and in the spring. Well, when it gets to be summer, you have to do like 2 or 3 times a day because the water evaporates. So we have to come by and check them for that. But I mean, besides that, they do a really good job with it.
Yeah, absolutely. They have the ability to catch chickens like nobody's business. I mean, they're oh
my gosh, yes, they are expert chicken catchers and stuff.
Well, here's some of our favorite things.
Yes.
And this is all family related because this is the family special. The Batson family don't have many board games that we'll play together and do well. We don't fight at Monopoly, but it's not our favorite.
Well, it's funny because when I had my kids play Monopoly because I wanted them to learn how to count money, and I thought that's a fun way of doing it. And my son Max looked at me and he goes, "This game was invented before TV was around, wasn't it?" He's like, "This is the longest game ever." Like, he likes it now, but when he first started playing, he was like, and the thing was my kids wouldn't make deals with each other. They just wanted to collect, and that makes the game incredibly long. So Mommy got involved, and then I owned everything.
Yep.
So.
Well, we put rules around it that make it much shorter too. But the game that we gather together and play with is one that we'll put a link to.
Apples to Apples is a fun one, Angela.
Yeah, we like that one too. And we haven't played this one in a while.
Yeah.
But it is this one right here.
Ticket to Ride.
Ticket to Ride, baby. It is a blast. It is strategy. It's problem solving. This is a fun game. It only allows about 6 people, I think.
Yeah, you can get. I think you can get an expansion.
You can get extensions. 5 people play, and 1 person acts as kind of a banker.
This is the North American version. They have one for Asia. They have one for Europe. It's funny because my youngest son, when he first started playing this, he wanted to take his train from. I forget where it was, like
across
Miami to a place called Wampanoag. And I'm like, what? And it was Winnipeg, but he pronounced it Wampanoag.
Yep.
So from now on, that's what it's been called. We know it's Winnipeg, but we pronounce it Wampanoag.
Yeah, I mean there's not a whole lot of time on the homestead to play games, but when we do, that's the one we choose. That's the fun one. So anyway, you're right, and it's great to learn geography.
It is, yeah.
It's very important. I learned a ton when I started playing. It was very helpful.
Well, it was funny. He goes, "All right, so where is
Sioux City?
Sioux City, or
I couldn't pronounce it.
Sault Ste. Marie. Sault Ste. Marie, and it was funny. Like, he knew like major cities, but some of these ones out west, he was like, "Where's that at?"
Yep. let's see here. Yeah. Okay. So, some more favorite things, which you may have seen this one already, but I'll just show it real quick. This is one of my favorite things. It's my bow. It's a great stress reliever. I've had a lot of fun with it, and again, I need to use it more for hunting than I do. But it is one of those things that it's just one of my favorite things. I take it.
I would love to learn how to shoot one, but I don't have one. So and I can't go into the bow section at the sporting goods store because the security things that they have on them and the signal that they send to them makes me want to throw up. So I can't even go in that section.
So you have an update on your hearing though, right?
Oh yeah, I've been having problems with I guess it's ringing in my ears, but it's almost like, this is going to show like my age, but you remember when you would turn on the old style TVs and how it had that little bit of a kind of a high pitched hum, I guess is how you well, in certain places, I hear that all the time. It's not loud and obnoxious, but it's just there enough to be annoying. I hear it when I sit in my mother's living room. It's worse when I get up in the morning. And like I said, when I'm in certain places that, like at Bass Pro Shop that has those security things on their bows and stuff like that, like it's awful. And I had my hearing tested. They said I had excellent hearing, but that I had a low tolerance for high frequencies. Mm-hmm. So I told him, I said, is it weird that I feel like because when I sit in my mother's living room, I'm right by the breaker box. I said, I feel like I can hear the electricity running through the walls. Yep. And then I also realized, like, in the bedroom that we sleep in, the meter for the electricity is right outside that room. Mm-hmm. And so the doctor was like, well, he goes, you could be hearing that because that stuff is kind of on a high frequency. And I'm like, awesome! That's great. I'm gonna have to. I don't want to be like one of those completely off-grid people because I like my wash machine and stuff like that. But like, good Lord, sometimes it's like it can be obnoxious. So
let's go to the chat for just a second. Baker Mom said, "Where do you go to practice your shooting your bow?" I go to our backyard. And there was there were a couple times in Maryland where I would drive out to an indoor range during the winter. It was awesome. They had several different moving targets and it was a lot of fun, but most of the time it's out back in a target. Jayton had to take off, so goodbye for now. Angela has...
tinnitus is what they said it could be.
Yeah.
So, my dad had it. But he also worked around heavy machinery a lot. So it's not all the time.
James,
it's just,
James is asking, Heather, were you raised on a farm? And she was raised in the same property that you see us play on and in the Goin Batty videos.
Yeah, so it wasn't a farm. Well, at the time it was out in the country when I was a kid, but now it's part of the suburbs.
Angela from DeJesus Family Farms is saying, you have electromagnetic hypersensitivity. There you go.
Awesome.
It's been diagnosed.
Well, because
here.
I was so mad because I went back to the ear, nose, and throat doctor, and I get there, and an hour after my appointment was supposed to happen, he walks in and talks to me like he's never seen me before.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and he was like, well, describe your problems. I'm like, well, I told you last time I was here. And he goes, oh, you've been here before?
Yeah.
And he was looking over my chart, and it was kind of like, yeah, there's not really anything we can do for you.
Okay, here's another thing about family that we've learned. The doctors that are a part of our life, the doctors that we choose to take our kids to, those doctors can be fired. When they treat my wife badly, when they treat my kids with that I could care less that you're here kind of personality, they're gone. We will spend our insurance money somewhere else, and you will take care of our kids no more. Heather's ear ear doctor is now fired. We're going to take her to a doctor where they can care for her and give her that care that she deserves. We've had far too many experiences where doctors have treated us badly and we have sat there and felt like we needed to take it. My insurance is good at a bunch of other doctors. The book says so. I've got this book. It's about that thick. You got it. And they tell you where to go to get your medical thing.
Sorry, I'm going to answer a question.
Yeah.
At Breakaway Homestead, do you guys hatch chicks or buy them? We've done both.
Oh, and that was the other thing and one of my greatest joys is to do that. I love hatching chicks ourselves. It's just you have to have all of the elements kind of in play, and we haven't really been able to. But we did hatch 6 recently, and that was a lot of fun. So we think out of all of the chickens that we got this fall, for spring, one of them is a rooster.
Except for the ones that we hatched. 5 of those are rooster. One of those is hen.
They're still babies though, and they'll go to freezer camp. But this one rooster, I was surprised. I thought there would be more.
Yeah.
So anyway,
yeah.
I want to say that to you guys to encourage you. If you're at a physician where they are treating you as a second-class citizen, fire them. Go somewhere else. Your insurance money is good. Any of those other places listed, and you may have to dig a little bit and you may have to look a little bit. We will drive 45 minutes away to find a good doctor, if that's what it means. Breakaway Homestead, I've been through 4 pediatricians. Our current is great and was warned by and is as great as was warned by the other 3. Yeah, but this one stuck. Okay, well, good.
Yeah.
I think that's so important that as we talk about families, so many people think that they have to go to the doctor that they're told to go to. You don't. And there are options for you. I don't know the insurance game. I won't pretend to understand it, but I think that as a pastor that's seen a lot of families hurt by them not understanding that. This is something you can do, and it's okay to do that. So anyway, I'll move on from that little lecture, my little soapbox there. We've got some resources that we wanted to share with you guys.
Okay.
And go ahead.
These are both books that I have. I don't have them with me. They're in storage right now.
But we'll try to find links to them to Amazon. Yeah, we'll find links
to them, and we'll put them in the description below. The first one is a book by Stormy O'Martin, and it's called The Power of a Praying Parent. Now, she wrote another one before that, which was The Power of a Praying Wife, and both of those books are excellent. And it talks about praying for your children and how to use scripture and pray scripture over your children and stuff like that. It's a great book. And then the other one for mothers, because I know for me, like when I had my first child, I never knew anxiety like I did once that baby was in my arms.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a book called Calm My Anxious Heart. And I'm trying to think who wrote that. Linda Dillow is the one who wrote that one. And that's a really good one too. The other thing too is like always go back to the Bible. I mean, we can suggest these books, but God is who he is and his word is his word. And we need to go back to that when we have those moments of anxiety, when we don't understand. Like here's my thing, like if you're wanting to like be a good parent, read through the book of Proverbs, because there's a lot of common sense stuff that's in there.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
But those are 2 as a mother that I really liked, and that really helped me.
Yeah, and
there's another resource.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. The other resource I have too is Focus on the Family. I grew up listening to James Dobson on the radio when I was a kid. My parents were big advocates for Focus on the Family. When it comes to family and family-oriented things, they have a lot of great resources there. They even have something about putting together your family mission statement. They have just a lot of stuff like that. So I would recommend that.
Yeah, and here's the thing with focus on the family. We did not raise our kids God's way, growing kids God's way, or whatever.
God's way. No, that was a whole movement when Katie was a child and everything. But we do raise our kids God's way. We do it through Scripture and scripturally. Right. So
it's fun to watch too. I mean, they're just growing like weeds. I'm reading some of the comments. I no longer go to my ear doctor that I've been going to for 30 years. I fired him. Good job, Donna Terry. They can get your money. You can give your money to anybody, and they'll care about you, and that's important.
Yes, Angela DeJesus Family Farms, The Strong-Willed Child. That is a good book. I've had numerous people talk about that book because you do, when you have a strong-willed kid, and we know that none of the rules apply. Like when it comes to like what your other kids were like, that strong-willed child is completely different, and how you deal with them, how you discipline them, how all of that is different, and all the stuff that you use with all your other children get kind of thrown out the window. And yes, that is a very good resource.
Cat Lover, a great book of God's blessings for women is Redbirds, Rubies, and Rainbows. That book really helped me through a lot of tough stuff. This is a great place for you guys to share resources with each other.
Yeah.
If you know of books. I'm going to step up for the guys. I'm going to step up for the men and speak that there are a few that we need to take a look at. Bye, James. One resource is Jeff Struker. He is a speaker that I highly recommend. He has a website. I don't know if you fellas ever saw Black Hawk Down. Jeff was there. He was in the moment while these incredible military men were surviving this horrible tragedy, and he is a believer. He goes around and doesn't necessarily talk about that movie per se, but he talks about what it means to be a man in a society that doesn't want you to be a man, and what it means to be a Christian man in a society. A lot of us guys were raised thinking that Christian guys had to be wimps, and we were kind of taught that we needed to be Ned Flanders to a degree from The Simpsons, and none of that's true. There are some great resources. He's a great speaker. I recommend Bringing Up Boys. I recommend Raising a Modern Day Knight, and this is teaching boys that it's okay to, they just automatically pick up sticks and start sword fighting with them.
It becomes a sword, a gun, or a lightsaber.
Yeah, I mean, it's something like that.
Or poking dead things with it. That's right, Kate.
It's not something that we need to deter them from. It's something that we need to lead them in. And that's what we've been doing. We've been telling our boys not to play with sticks, not to hurt each other. All of that's true, but what we've done is we've not led them in it and taught them God's way and the values that God carries. And we talked about this on Saturday in my devotion, that the Beatitudes are filled with God's values for our families. And when we raise our sons, we have to look at those values, and our daughters, and we have to look at those values, and we really have to make sure that we're understanding how that plays out in our home. That the home is a petri dish, a place where we can grow and raise our families in a safe place. And so those are two things that I would say as men, we need to continue to step up. It doesn't matter what your scenario is. And
I wanted to share something. There's something interesting that I've noticed about the men in my life in general, my sons, my husband, my brothers, they have this need to protect and fix. And it's not a bad thing. Mm-hmm. It's not. My boys, when mommy is crying, their spider sense goes off. They have these antennae, and all of a sudden, like, they can be in the backyard, and all of a sudden they'll come in and be like, "Mom, are you okay?"
Yep.
And my brothers, both of my brothers, if my mom is upset, they will move heaven and earth.
Oh, yeah.
To make sure that she is okay. And I think that that's something that's admirable.
Absolutely.
In men. we're given this picture of guys don't care about things, and they're a lot of times like they're not very smart, and I mean that's how they're portrayed in the media, and it's like, and that is so not true. Right. I think men need to embrace every bit of manliness that they have, and the fact that they are protectors, they are fixers. What was that other book? Oh my gosh, what was that other one that we did together? They had the husband and the wife.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, for women only.
And for men only.
And for men only. And
this was a groundbreaker for me, fellas. Yeah. Oh, I can't believe we didn't think of this.
I did, yeah.
For women only, for men only.
And I forget who the author is, but we'll find it and we'll put it in the description box, because
the key to that one is to read it together.
Yeah, because I did it as a study first, and I did it probably 3 years before Kevin ever did his.
And Pam Walker was
Pam Walker was the one
and you'll see her name on the feed here.
Every once in a while. But she actually sought me out at the church that we were at. She said, I really want you to be part of this Bible study.
Yep.
And it was great, because it talked about, this lady went through and she interviewed men from all walks of life, married men, single men, men who had been divorced, all of this stuff, all different ages, and said, what do you feel or think about this? What do you feel? And so women, what we think they think and feel was actually totally different. And sometimes it doesn't apply for every man. She said usually it was about 85 to 87% of the time. It was, in general, true for almost all the men.
Yep.
So, and then her and her husband wrote one for the counterpart for men that was for men only. And, so it was funny, because I would sit down with this book and I would look at Kevin and I go, is this really what you think? And he would go, is this what we're going to do tonight, fight? And I'm like, no, I really want to know, is this what you think? Or is this what you feel? Or is, and he very reluctantly answered the questions, and yes, most of it, not all of it, but most of it fit him. Yep. And and then he got the chance to do it with me when he read the book. He goes, is your mind really like a computer that has all of these windows open
all the time?
And I'm like, yes. He goes, well, how do you live like that? I'm like, well, I don't know, I just do. He goes, how do you close them? And I said, well, I have to finish the task. He goes, well, what if you can't finish the task? I said, well, then it's not closed.
It stays open.
And it stays, so I can have thousands of them open. And he was like, oh, that's horrifying.
This is the total opposite, where when I have a problem or I have a situation that I need to fix, and I can't, it goes up on the shelf behind me. It's an imaginary shelf that I just put back there until I'm ready to deal with it. And I forget about it and I move on to the next thing. And some guys work this way and some guys don't. But the point is that we need to be sensitive to each other as husband and wife, so that we can be great parents to our kids. And we've told our kids 1,000 times, if you don't let us have time alone together, then we are not going to be able to be good parents to you, because we need time to be a couple. We need time to stay familiar with one another, so that when we come and parent you, we're doing it as a team. We're doing it in lockstep with one another. So those are some of the things.
So those were. I can't believe we forgot those.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So it is Q&A time. I know we are way over time, and we're okay with that.
We won't do it every week, but
we won't do it every week.
Kind of an important one.
But like I said, this is the family special, and we're going to do a Q&A time. What are some of your questions that you might have for the Goin Batty clan, and what are some family questions you might have? We will answer them to our best of our ability without divulging anything too sensitive, and we'll give you our perspective on those topics. So as the live feed goes, there's a delay, and so what we can do is we can kind of give our 2 cents and whatever questions you guys. Here's what I'm also realizing: a lot of you have been down this road before us, and we're here to learn from you. And so there might be leading questions where you already know the answer to it, but it's going to help us think things through. Those are allowed, because we are on this journey to learn. If you go to our website, goinbatty.com, that is where we're keeping some of our stuff, and that's got kind of our tagline is life as it happens and all that we learn. And that's really an important thing for us because we are learning a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what questions do you guys have, if any? I don't see anything yet, but
Not yet.
there may not be a Q&A.
What did you do? It all went away.
I just refreshed, that's
okay.
all. Girls with Swords and Lionesses Rising by Lisa Bevere has had the biggest impact on me as a mother of grown adults, of a grown daughter with a child. Let's see here. Jose says real men are not afraid to wear pink sometimes.
Well, and May Hay said
That's
that
right.
her husband is always kind of in tune to her feelings too.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right. Here's one. How do I lead a daughter to the strong? I'm sorry, I'm reading this wrong. How do I lead daughter to the strong-willed child like my granddaughter always has been, and she's very smart to boot? I usually don't offer suggestions unless they ask my kids. My kids I'm talking about. Usually don't. Okay, so my understanding of this is you have a daughter who has a strong-willed child, and she's really smart to boot. Well,
They usually are.
They usually are.
Very smart. I know that ours, is incredibly smart.
Rise above the moment
Yeah.
is the first thing I would say. When the poop is hitting the fan and everybody's having kind of a meltdown, rise above it and realize you're the parent, and that
she's the grandparent because
Well,
it sounds like it's her granddaughter. And the thing is too is that you are the grandmother, you're not the parent.
That's right.
When my mom has always been really good about stepping in when she needs to,
Mm-hmm.
and she knows how to gauge that really well.
Mm-hmm.
Offering advice when it's asked for.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, say your daughter comes to you and says, like, hey, I'm really struggling with this. Well, you can say, hey, listen, hi, buddy. How was
They're
camp?
home from soccer
From
day
sports
camp.
camp.
From sports camp.
Yeah. So
we'll have a couple coming in here.
You can say, well, hey, listen, I heard about this really great resource, the book, The Strong-Willed Child, or, you can point her in directions because I know Focus on the Family has a lot of stuff about strong-willed kids. Just because you're a believer doesn't mean your kid isn't strong-willed.
Right.
Absolutely. So know when to pick your battles, know when to say, well, hey, Blake, how are you?
Hi, Blake, how are you, bud?
Know when to say words of encouragement and affirmation, because sometimes in those moments what they need to hear is just somebody saying, you know what, you're doing a good job.
Yeah. We have another question. How do you ask your mom or dad a question that's really embarrassing, or what do you suggest if you think your mom won't answer you? I'm really sorry, but about to start menses. Okay.
Well, I think that
Period. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. That is a tough one, and so I default to Heather.
Well, here's the thing. If your mom, I think that you need to at least try.
Yeah.
You need to at least try to start that conversation. I was very proactive with my daughter. When it came to that topic, I knew ahead of time. For me, I was, this is probably a little TMI, but I was an early starter. So by the time that she was about 9, 10, we kind of started discussing stuff like that. Sorry, Kate.
We have a daughter melting in the background right now, so we're gonna move on from this topic.
If she will not discuss it with you, then find somebody in your life who will.
Yeah.
Because you don't need to be flying blind in that arena.
Yeah.
So find somebody that you trust who will do that.
Don't be sorry
for asking.
No,
Believe me, honey, it is not something. It may embarrass my teenage daughter. It don't embarrass me none.
No. And I'll tell you, that goes back to not everybody has the same family dynamic, and that's why we're sharing it, is because we can share with you. Hi, two family. Having those conversations with your mom may be awkward at first, but then after you have them, you realize that you just joined a special ladies only club. Yeah, absolutely. So, and Faith Abounds also says, no, Adeline, it's good to ask. Yeah, and it may embarrass the dudes, but it is so important. And I'll be honest with you, if God forbid Heather ever had anything bad that happened to her and she wasn't here, I would have that conversation with my daughter eye to eye and nose to nose, and it would be so difficult and it would be tough, but there's, quite honestly, in the Goin Batty clan, we have given permission to talk about anything. Yeah. And when our kids went to public school, they would come home and learn some words that we knew they didn't know, right? The F word, the S word, the D word, all of these bad words. And I kind of made the rule up, and Heather agreed, that when you heard that word and you didn't know what it means, you could come home, you could say it once to tell us what the word was. And then we would talk about it, and then you were not to say it again, because that is the sign of a weak mind.
Well, and I want to thank all the other ladies on here who are jumping in, because I don't have all the answers, right. And we need to lean on a community that can help us answer that, because here are some women who are 1, 2, 3 steps ahead of me in life, and so they have some answers that maybe some of them I wouldn't have thought of. So
Jesus, I'm with you, and I've done it for my wife as well. I went to Kroger and I stood in the aisle on my cell phone and said, honey, there's thousands of these. What do I buy? I have no clue. So Jesus, I'm right there with you, my friend. Yeah. We are real men for sure. Yeah.
Any other questions, guys? I hope that answered your question, and I hope if I didn't answer, that one of these other ladies did for you there, Adeline.
I'm seeing a lot of thank yous, so yeah that's good. Let's keep leaning on each other as a community of believers, and I know that we're going along. What other questions might you have about the Goin Batty clan? I'm just watching the feed. Yep. Been there, done that, but no t-shirt.
No t-shirt. No, you don't need a t-shirt.
I'm glad there's not a t-shirt that goes with that one. That's funny. How do you teach your kids about finance, tithing, and savings? Oh, that's a great question.
Well, here's one of the things, and again, this is one of the things that my dad was very kind of adamant about when we got engaged. He wanted us to go through Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University.
Yes.
And we did that.
Yes.
We didn't always follow it.
No. And we should have.
We should have. But because we want our children to be better people than we are, because we are recovering from mistakes that we've made, and everyone makes them, and sometimes there are things that, because of circumstances that happen, things just kind of pile up on you, because for a while there we were completely debt free, and we had medical issues, we had car issues, and all of it kind of came crashing down on us. Yeah. But what we teach our children is that what you have has been given to you by God.
It's God's.
And it was His to begin with. So when it comes to finances and tithing and stuff like that, God only asks for 10%. Now, tithing to us is not just money. Because show me where you spend your time and I will show you what you love. And if you're spending your time on your phone, I heard that from him. So, if you're with your friends, then something else has become God in your life.
Absolutely.
So show me where you spend your time and I'll show you what you love. And so we tell our kids, the time that you spend needs to reflect your tithe too. How you, like right now, you've heard me talk about my grandmother. She's 87. She can't mow her yard. So we go down there, and my kids with joyful hearts, part of it is because they get to use the riding lawnmower, but even my youngest, he loves to push mow her front yard. And he does it with a joyful heart, and he's taking his time that he could be using for something else and doing something because he loves his grandmother.
Yeah.
And his great grandmother.
Yeah.
But so there is that the 10-10-80 kind of rule. Mm-hmm. When it comes to money, 10% of it goes to tithing, 10% of it goes to savings, and the other 80 is for whatever you need it for.
Yeah. And that, we're teaching them that in the hopes that 10% goes to God, 10% goes to savings, 80% isn't what you want. And that's the hard part, right? We want Legos and we want toys, and as a man I want a 4x4. That 80% isn't for that. That's extra and above. The 80% is to pay the bills, to keep the lights on, to keep the groceries on, to keep clothes on the back. It's just, we get that so mixed up, and I have screwed it up so many times by thinking that the credit card is the fallback. No, it's not. It's not the fallback. We need to change our thinking, and we're in the process of becoming debt free. And it's challenging. It's real challenging.
It's real challenging when you've got 4 kids.
Yeah.
Because somebody is always needing something. It was funny because there was at one point where my 3 boys all blew through their shoes in like a week. Like the bottoms completely fell off of them. I'm like, what are you doing?
Okay. So we've got a question from Adeline. Can you give me a definition of tithing? I can do it like a donation to somewhere, or do you think it's top to go to church? I think here's the thing. There's a lot of varying opinions about where your tithing should go and what tithing is. Here's the thing. 10% of what God gives you, your money, your time, your skills, your spiritual gifts, all of those things and more are to be given back to God.
And I think you need to pray over it too.
Mm-hmm.
It's very easy to just, write a check to the church that you go to, but is that really where God wants you to use it? I mean, what about, I watched one time as a student, and this was a middle school student, and this is when Kevin first started in junior high ministry. We were in downtown Cincinnati, I believe, and we were in Newport because we were at the aquarium. They saw somebody who was homeless. And they decided, instead of getting lunch for themselves, they got lunch for this homeless person.
Yeah.
Because that's where God, and I think sometimes we miss those opportunities.
Tithes and offerings, man.
And it doesn't like I said, it doesn't have to be given to it. I believe that in some of those cases, sometimes it is giving of yourself to show somebody what Christ's love really, really is.
Yeah. And I also think that there's blessing that comes with that obedience of tithing. When we don't feel like we have the money to give and still we're obedient to give it, that takes me back to Tiny House Prepper. They have an incredible testimony of how God was faithful to them and they were obedient to his call to tithe back. And so instead of telling that whole story here, we will we'll see if we can put a link to that
through their video of it,
and just give you that opportunity. But
Katie, answer my question for me.
What's your favorite color?
It's yellow. It's that kind of light, creamy, kind of butter yellow color. So that's my favorite color.
Okay, so we've got a couple different perspectives on tithing. Mehe said we did tithing with cash but didn't add the name that year, but learned a lesson from this. Heather's dad would not, sometimes he'd give and he would not put his name on it, and it was between him and God, and he didn't want anybody else to know.
He didn't care what anybody else thought. Because it was between him and God. Yeah. That was it.
Yeah, that's right. Tithing is 10%. I would rather have 90% blessed than 100% cursed. Absolutely. Yeah. Heather, very good. We give, and God loves that. I believe 10% tithe is to the church, but God wants us to give time and love too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, in the interest of time, YouTube is probably going, why are they so long tonight? This is the longest
never
video
this
they've
long.
ever made. But we just want to answer a couple more questions about anything you guys have, and then we're going to call it a night. We do have some upcoming videos. We have some upcoming stuff. Katie and I, from time to time, will check in from the mission trip that we're going to go on and do a couple minutes of a live feed. And that's in a couple of weeks. There are all kinds of things that are getting ready to happen for us. We're going to, right after the mission trip, we go on vacation, and we'll be taking you guys with us wherever we decide to go.
There will be a live feed when they're gone on the mission trip, because we video things through Kevin's iPhone,
right.
And I won't have the capability to it. And then I'm not very good on my own. Like I kind of need him to bounce off of. So.
Sometimes I wonder.
Yeah.
But
where are you going on your missions trip?
We are going down to Frakes, Kentucky, and we're going to be working with the Henderson settlement. I don't usually like to give that kind of detail out, but because it's an important cause, and we want you guys praying with intention. We know by May. We know that you guys are praying for us. We're also praying for you, and we don't want to miss that blessing of being too vague or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so that's what we're doing, and that's where we're headed. Excuse me. We're blessed that you guys have hung out with us tonight. There's been a consistent number of 20 people hanging out with us tonight. We're grateful for all of you. We know that we've been on a long time, so we're going to say goodnight. If you would check us out here in the next couple of days, we'll do a couple more live feeds, and we're just blessed. We're grateful. We love our family. We love being a part of this crazy this crazy Goin Batty thing. We're grateful for the community around us, and gosh, I don't have a whole lot more to say. I think I'm running out of words.
Pray. Time to pray.
Time to pray.
Yes.
So let's do that. All right. Father God, we thank you for the privilege it is to be in this community of like-minded people. Lord, I pray for each and every one of the people that are present on this live feed. I ask for you to come into their heart. Lord, if there is a person on this feed that doesn't know Jesus, we just lift them up to you right now, and we offer up this moment, this opportunity for them to ask Jesus into their heart. It's a simple prayer. There's no big bells and whistles. It's just simple. Jesus, I love you. Come into my heart. That is the single most important part of beginning a homestead, is understanding that there's a Savior that loves you. And Father God, thank you for the privilege it is to share these messages, to share this family episode, the special family episode with all of these great people. Father God, we lift up all the prayer concerns in their heart, but we also lift up all the joy. There's a ton of joy, Father God, that's going on in the lives of these people, and we want to celebrate with you. We want to acknowledge that the good things that are happening in the lives of these folks are good things that you're bringing into their life, Father God. And we just thank you so much for this time together. We lift up all of these things. Go before us, beside us, and behind us. In your Son's mighty name. Amen.
Amen.
All right, guys. That is it. Thank you for joining us. Man, I just feel blessed. I don't even know what to say.
Yeah.
All right. Guys.
Bye.
More updates as we go.